Welcome to Infinite Love Podcast. Today I'm going to talk about labels and how hard it is for me to digest such a term. I may even struggle through this podcast, but I'm just being real. And this topic is pretty hard for me to talk about, as it's more of a new discover than anything about why I never connected with labels. And it honestly stems from the beginning of when I was first diagnosed with Cruzon syndrome. Even though I was only 2, that term, that label, would change my life forever. And I never knew how to connect with that. Instead, I ran from it. I ran from myself for so long. I didn't want that label. I didn't want to be different. I wished so badly to blend in with the others, with those around me, to not stand out, to not look different, to feel different. I struggled with that honesty. I was different. I looked different. And then as I grew up, I realized I didn't like other labels. Like I said, this healing journey isn't easy. And I have my days, like now, because I relive it, re-experience it, and I sit through these emotions. And I understand it, but it's still really hard because part of it is painful, but the other part is a revelation. It's discovering and piecing together my life and how it all played out. And that can be painful because as I sit here talking, I just envision my inner child. And now I ran from her. Yet I loved her so much. There are so many great memories growing up, but I ran from her. I never identified or connected myself with her. And that's hard. It's hard to sit here and have that reality check sit in, because while I'm having these revelations, I also have to forgive myself. Forgive myself for what was. Forgive myself for what I knew or how I handled things, because it was all I knew. But it's still hard. It's uncomfortable. Even discovering these new revelations about myself, it's a combination of different feelings, sadness, pain, yet this exhilaration of hope, of excitement, because I know that I'm allowing myself to heal. I'm allowing myself to forgive. And sometimes there are those moments where it feels like too much, because how can you experience all of these different feelings and yet still keep moving forward and finding balance within? And like I said, there are those really good days, but there's those days where I just have to allow myself to feel it all, even if I don't want to, because I've learned that running from my feelings only means that they're going to come back tenfold the next time they reappear. And I don't want that to keep happening. So if I have to feel the pain, the excitement, the sadness, the fear, all of it together, then I choose to sit here and feel it. But I tell myself, okay, you're going to feel this, and you're only going to allow this much time to feel it. And then you're going to get up, and you're going to take a break. Or you're going to do your affirmations. Or you're going to do something self-care, something fun. Or you're going to lay on the couch and just relax, even if it means to zone out for a little bit. And I'll do all those things. And they do help. But it's a journey. And it's a journey that has gotten me right here to this moment where I realized how much I hated labels and why. I spent so much time focusing on the running, wishing life as something else, rather than embracing me for who I was. This would lead me to running from my pain and emotions until I couldn't take it anymore. And I would just explode with emotions, sometimes in the most inconvenient places, which I never processed when I did. I never sat with it long enough to heal, yet only I just sat with it to release and run again until it bottled up. This healing journey is endless, I know, but each time I'm learning something new about myself, which means more is lifted away from me, away from my heart. So I'm in a place in my journey where I now kind of stroll through my journey with my head held high, and I embrace the moment as they are, good or bad. We're not living a perfect life here. I'm not here to say that everything is magical and perfect, but I've allowed myself the opportunity now to just embrace life for what it is, for what it has to offer in those moments. I'm not afraid. I'm not that little girl who just kept her head down, looked at her feet as she walked upon this world because of fear of judgment, because of the fear of labels. And the worst part is, I was the worst judger of my own self. I gave myself that label rather than understanding and embracing that beautiful label, to which now I gladly own and accept. At that time, and not only did I run from this label, but I judged myself because I started believing what others were saying about me, because I too believed that I was different, I was ugly, I was too emotional, I was afraid. And then I just succumbed to this negativity, even though I masked all of this and presented this lifestyle of happiness. I was just a little girl too scared to share my voice. I didn't know how. I was told that the grass isn't always greener on the other side, and that you never know a person's journey until you're in their shoes, and that someone has it worse off than you. And that's good advice and all, but it sugarcoats what's really going on inside of me. It silenced me. It allowed me to silence myself, because if I start complaining, then I'm going to be judged for that. But I'm not really complaining. I'm expressing. I'm trying to communicate that I'm hurting. I'm struggling. I'm in pain. And I silence myself in fear that no one would ever understand what it was I was trying to communicate, because I didn't know how to communicate it. Not then. Not the way I was feeling. Not the overthinking, the negative thoughts running through my head. It was dark and scary. And yet, I lived this alternate life. But in my mind, I was just walking through life, wishing one day it was just over like that, wondering what the purpose was behind all of it, but not really searching for the purpose, running from the purpose, running from me. So here I am, running from my first ever label, now receiving the next label. My God, you're so strong. And clearly, as I've just shared my experiences with you, as that little girl, I didn't feel so strong. So I hate it. I despise that label, strong. What is that? Am I strong because I'm putting on a brave face? Am I strong because I'm just walking through life without a voice? Struggling with all of these dark thoughts in my mind? Feeling my heart shattering every single day? Afraid of what my next experience is going to be or feel like? I don't want that label. I don't deserve that label. But yet here I am, trying to uphold to this label. You're so strong, Kate. God, your daughter is so strong. How does she do it every day? How did I do it every day? I don't know. But somewhere deep in my soul, I knew that my life served a greater purpose. Subconsciously, maybe just because I have an old soul. I don't know. But I knew that I was fighting for something so much greater. And it was truly not running from myself, but really me running to myself. I just might have taken a couple detours along the way, but eventually I figured out the right coordinates to get to where I was going, and that was back home, to me, to the little girl that wept, that hid in fear, the little girl I placed into a box and pushed away for so long. I found my way back to her, to let her know that I was sorry, that I am sorry, and not to hold on anymore, not to hold on to the past, to forgive, to let go, to understand that we are okay, that what we experience is okay, because we are strong. We're goddesses, we're warriors, we're fighters. We're here for a purpose, and we found our purpose. So whenever I encounter a breakthrough, such as this most recent one about not connecting with labels, I embrace the journey. I embrace digging deep and feeling everything I need to feel, because it's gotten me to a place, a very healthy, good place, where I'm understanding my past, living in my present, excited for my future. It's like buying one of those 5,000 piece puzzles. You know you can't put it all together at once. You slowly but surely place piece by piece. And that's kind of how I look at the healing process for me in this journey, is every time I put a new piece back together, I find its place in life. It paints a different picture for me, and I'm able to see more clear what it is I'm looking at. And that goes with my life. As I embrace each lesson, each feeling, each trauma, I'm putting a little piece back together within me, and I'm connecting, or I should say reconnecting, with my inner child, with myself, and I'm changing my mindset. I put more emphasis on valuing myself, my worth, my love. And this has transformed my life today, to the choices I make, to listening to my intuition, to understanding the entire process without judgment for myself or others. As I'm starting to realize and learn that we all do have a different journey, and we all have our own unique story. What we do with that, well, that's for each of us to figure out. That's the beauty of free will. We get to choose. And for me, all the choices I made in my past led me to here, to today. And today, I choose me in a healthier, more loving way, which means that I have to change the trajectory of my choices here on out, because what I was doing in my past clearly wasn't working for me. So why not try something different? Why not put me first? Put me back together. So down the rabbit hole I went, taking a look back at my past and truly understanding what it was about labels. So clearly I didn't like the label of having Crouzon syndrome. Then I didn't like the label of being called strong when I felt weak. Then I was told how inspiring I am. You're such an inspiration, Kate. Well, obviously I could not take compliments very well back then, but my reality was this: I didn't align with those words. So hearing them made my soul cringe, because I couldn't quite connect with that. I didn't feel that way, but I wasn't voicing it. I wasn't communicating that to people. And sometimes when you look back, you want to just shake that little girl and be like, speak up, say it, tell people how you really feel. But I did that one time with a therapist, and she basically pulled out a board game. I was in my teens, and I felt like she treated me like a child. And she basically told my mom, I don't know what to do with her. As a therapist, what? That broke me. That broke my soul. But then again, I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know how to communicate. And I thought by going to a therapist, it would allow me that opportunity to communicate. So you see, I was placed in these scenarios where I felt like I could never win. And then I would just digress. I would get inside my head. I would think, is it because of how I look? Did that sway or turn off the therapist Did she see my face and feel uncomfortable, which is why she couldn't approach me? I mean, literally, this is where my head would take me. Immediately, I would subject myself to these thoughts of, is it because of how I look? Do people not know how to handle me because they're afraid of me? Am I a monster? And I could never turn these thoughts off because every day I felt that from other people by their own projections, their teasings or tauntings, strangers. And all it would take is one time, one person, whether I was driving in a car or walking into a public area, to then allow myself to feel this way, because when people stare too long, you notice, you feel it, especially me. I'm a very observant person. And then you create this scenario in your head of what they're thinking or what they're saying about you. And then you see people that are laughing. Are they laughing at me? Are they pointing at me? Are they making fun of me? Am I the joke? And I would start to crumble inside. I would live in this fearful state of being. I would live in this fearful state of mind. And honestly, I'm surprised I would even go out. But luckily, I was a very extrovert, social person. I enjoyed people's company. But it was also hard because when I was out with my friends, I still felt less than. I still felt inadequate. I didn't feel as beautiful as they were. I didn't feel like I belonged, no matter how hard I tried or even how little I tried. I always felt outcasted by my own doing. Looking back at it now, majority of it was the way I felt about myself on the inside, which then externalized everything, my energy, my space, my emotions. I was doing this to myself. Now, yes, I hold compassion for myself because it isn't fair that people judge or tease or taunt or snicker or stare. I have no control of that, though. And until I was able to learn that that's their journey, that's their story, that's their healing, I can't allow myself to take that on anymore because it's no longer my weight. I am who I am, and I love the woman I am today. I love the way I look. But it took me a very long time to get to this place where I can silence my mind. I can let go of those thoughts. I don't need to be in this fight or flight mode. I don't need to be so protective of myself. I just need to be real with myself. I need to allow myself to feel. And sure, there are those days that I may feel triggered or extra sensitive, but I'm very aware of that now. So I hold grace and space for myself, or I'll communicate it to my friends. On occasion, I've done this with my coworkers. I've felt very sensitive at moments, and I've expressed it to them and said, hey, this is where my headspace is at. Just bear with me. Just hold space for me. Don't go out of your way. Don't do anything extra. I'm just having a very extra sensitive day. And by doing so, I'm taking control and power back of my emotions and my thoughts. And I'm utilizing my voice in the most healthy way I can, which is something I never did in my past. I was always afraid. I was always afraid of hurting somebody else by speaking my truth. I was always so extra sensitive about everyone else's feelings, forgetting my own, putting my own feelings to the side. And that was so detrimental to my healing, to my growth in my past. It kept me stuck in this negative energy. It held me back. I held myself back for so long. And this is where I realized the next label was, you're too sensitive. And I knew I was sensitive. I knew since I was a little child, I was so very sensitive. I was sensitive to others, to their emotions, to their energy. I was sensitive to watching things on TV. I was sensitive to songs because I felt them so deeply. I am an extremely hypersensitive person, and I hated that. I despised that. And probably because I didn't know how to balance that sensitivity. I didn't know how to balance those emotions. And then on top of it, when you hear people call you or tease you about being too sensitive, well, what are you going to do as a sensitive person? You're going to bottle it all up. You're going to stuff it deep down inside, and you're going to feel it emotionally so intensely, and you're going to feel the pain raveling itself with all the other feelings. And I didn't like that. I didn't understand how these labels could be so harmful to me. But then again, that's where my mindset was at. I was stuck in this toxic, negative energy surrounding myself with all these negative, toxic thoughts. And I overthought everything and created this world where I was suffocating myself. And it was painful. It was just so painful to have this realization that I couldn't even accept compliments because to me, I didn't align to compliments, which then meant that these were all negative labels to which I was creating for myself. So I was self-destructive, and I didn't even know how to express this. And I didn't even know it really existed until I started the self-healing journey. And this is where, as time went on, little moments would trigger something within me. And then I would sit there and ask myself, where does that come from? And I didn't always get the answers right away, but I made sure not to hyper-focus on it too much because then it becomes frustrating. And as much as I want to solve problems within me, and as much as I have a love-hate relationship with self-healing, I realize that when I'm ready, the answers will come. And that's sort of like today's podcast is I all of a sudden was learning how much I hated labels. I despised labels. I don't even like using the word hate, but it's real. It's what I felt at the time. I hated labels. But I had no self-love or worth for myself. All I had were these toxic, negative thoughts racing through my head on the daily, to which I was creating for myself. In part because I was probably protecting myself. But I didn't understand until now what it all meant. And how early on this began for me. And how it evolved within my life and allowed me to make the choices I had to make in those moments. To now understand where I'm at and holding compassion and grace for that little child who didn't have the tools or the resources to realize that, hey, all these labels aren't bad, but understanding that you didn't align to them, that's pretty smart. Because how often can we realize that? Now, being an adult and on this journey, I love alignment. I value my alignment within because the more I'm aligned and in tune with my thoughts and my feelings and utilizing the proper healthy resources and tools to allow me to heal, I love the energy I surround myself with or the energy I attract within my world. It's amazing how my mindset has shifted completely. Is it perfect? Nope. Are there moments where I could feel the mindset wanting to shift? Yes. And I look at those as little tests to say, okay, well, we don't want you to sit on your pedestal for too long without feeling the gratitude, without appreciating the work you've done. Because healing isn't an overnight process where all of a sudden you're cured and you can go on your way and live this perfect, happy life. I realized that once I accepted that as my reality and still choose to see love and grace and gratitude within this journey for myself, and by choosing myself, I'm in such a healthier, better mindset. And I love it. I love what each day brings, the good and the bad. I'm grateful for both because I know no matter what, that now I know I'm strong. I can sit here and say, I am very strong. I'm resilient. I'm powerful. I'm confident. I love who I am becoming. I love me. I love all of me. I love my sensitivity. I love my observations. I love that I can feel others' energy and understand who they are and understand whether or not we align or not. This is what I love about this journey and about who I'm becoming. So labels, they're not such a bad thing anymore because I don't have to keep the bad ones if I don't align with them. I use my discernment. And if I don't align with them, well, then those are just projections from others. And that's their journey. And all I can do is hold love and space for them. Because in the end, I choose me. I choose myself, my happiness, over what others have to project upon me. Like I said, I have no control of what others do to me or say to me or feel about me, but that's theirs. That's their judgment. I'm just a mirror reflecting upon them of who they are. And I rather look in my own mirror and love the girl I'm staring at and appreciate her and love her for her securities and her insecurities. Love her for who she's becoming and love her for her past. In the end, I choose me.